Now let me just move on to my web diagram. Okay. Now, as you can see, we're the retail investors. These gray cubes, we have the shares and we're going to be asked to liquidate only. We can't buy anymore. We can just sell. And we can only sell to the batch that we're included in, that our brokerages are included in. Okay, so when I believe liquidation starts, if you are in this batch and you say you want $100, Raffason says, screw that, I'm not going to pay you 100. Pareto Bank might say, okay, I'll give you 100 and buy your shares. Okay. And we as the retail in this batch won't know the price that it's selling for in this batch. Okay. In the other batches, we'll only see what this is my assumption. This is how I feel they will create a ceiling and kind of prevent the price from going parabolic and become an infinity, because if it becomes an infinity, there's no reason why you can't get 1 trillion for your one share. Okay, so even if you had just one share, you could end up selling that one share for 1 billion if it's a genuine infinity squeeze, because there's no ceiling. So my presumption is that if I was a bad actor, my number one goal was to create a ceiling on the price. And the way I find a ceiling could be managed is first of all, skirting the definition of trading, right? We're not genuinely doing a real trade in so far as we're not able to buy. We can either hold or we can either sell. And we're only selling within our batch, our cusip batch, okay? So the dark red cusip might only see a trading ceiling of 150 because the vast majority, okay? And let's say this batch, as I showed previously, this batch in scenario 1 owes around 15 million, 20 million. In which case, I think they will cover maybe 10 million, okay? They're not going to cover the full 25 million. They'll cover the 10 million. They'll screw over certain investors, I think, in Europe and Asia with the portion. And I believe they'll liquidate some of their assets to cover as well, okay, amongst themselves. Okay, so then the bright red, okay, look, I put the 12 million. Robinhood has 12 million already, okay? Now, who knows what Robinhood might do? It might sell those 12 million between the brokerages themselves eventually, right? But retail will only liquidate to either their own brokerages or other brokerages inside the same, using the same cusip. Okay, now this bright turquoise color right here, Scotiabank, CIBC, RBC, these guys have different cusips, but they're using the same 8 number to begin with. Okay, my brokerage is Quest Trade, and it's using 8AG. I don't believe that CIBC and RBC, without communicating with each other or without following some instructions from the DTC, just coincidentally just happen to use the first 3 identical letters and numbers. Okay, I just don't believe it, that this is a coincidence. I think they're following instructions, especially Ali, First Trade, Webull, and SoFi. There's no way they all individually came up with the same exact cusip number. Okay, they're communicating amongst themselves and they're figuring out how to create a ceiling on the price. Okay, and what I find is investors for this batch are going to sell to their own individual brokerages and in between each other. Okay, and same for this, and same for this, the cusips, which start with 9. Okay, and these guys over here in the purple, that's TDs included. But what I've heard recently is that Charles Schwab bought out TD Ameritrade, and that TD Ameritrade's cusip number here, 6DA, is now turned into 6299, right? In which case Charles Schwab would have the majority of the 53 million MMTLP shares, okay? Which, I wouldn't be shocked if they bought out TD Ameritrade just because of this situation. Because if TD Ameritrade has received 53 million and Charles Schwab has naked shorted this MMTLP like well past 100 million, then now it's just reduced. Well, it's technically not reduced, but they've combined their net worth. They're now worth around $6 trillion. $6 trillion. So if you guys think they don't have the money to cover this play, I don't think you're correct. Okay, and then let's see. So yeah, there's a recent one that I received was Northwestern that's using this cusip IM299P62. Okay, so once the individual brokerages buy a certain portion of our shares at whatever price, they're gonna sell it backwards to the syndicate, okay, that sold them those fake shares. Because there's no way these individual brokerages are going to be liable to pay and have like a negative accounting balance on their books of like 150 million to 10 to 20 billion dollars on their accounting books. They're going to say, hey, we didn't do this. And this is the other issue. Okay, one thing is that retail has started lawsuits, but a lot of these banks and brokerages, they're gonna sue the shit out of these syndicate members that sold these fake shares that were never meant to trade. Now the evidence is clear. Like if John Berta and George Palacaris, they're telling us that they never authorized this. Not only did they not authorize that, when they noticed a trade, they immediately sent a notice to FINRA saying that this has traded on falsified information. Okay, I believe that's their exact wording in their tweet. If they then turned around and said they didn't take any action, okay, they just ignored it, okay, that in my opinion is being willful misconduct, okay, and negligence right there, in my opinion. Okay, so I think it's one thing to deal with retail lawyers, but when Questrade, RBC, CIBC, Scotia, these major Canadian banks and institutions, JP Morgan, okay, like these guys turn around and say, we're not going to be held liable, okay, we're going to buy these shares from our retail clients, but there's no way in hell we're going to be liable $500 million on our accounting balance. Okay, you sold us those fake shares, you got us into this situation, you broke the law, now pay a portion of that or pay all of it. Okay, these brokerages and these syndicate members, remember, they all work with each other. Okay, they're going to get the shares from us at whatever price, and they're going to try to cap the ceiling. Okay, they're going to give us the illusion that our shares within our amount can only reach a certain portion. Now let's say this batch with 8AQ99 ends up getting a huge portion of the NBH shares, okay, more than they themselves need to cover. They end up getting a very good amount, okay, where they find that they could sell it to this brokerage, which needs to cover an additional like 50 million NBH shares, that they could sell it to them, sell them a portion and make a profit. Okay, so they'll resolve it within and amongst themselves, right? The main thing is the main question for retail, I believe, is how are they going to create a ceiling on the price where the price doesn't reach a level to to collapse the entire stock market, the entire financial market. Because if this is a genuine infinity squeeze, and that we are in a position where we can request any price possible, then what these guys will do, the only thing that I'm thinking of that they can do is create a synthetic ceiling for each batch. Okay, and so each batch, but that doesn't prevent each batch from going to 1,000. It just depends on how each of the traders in each of these batches, at what level they're willing to sell and get out of this play. Okay, and I also believe that if and when liquidation opens, that it will likely take a week, because they're still going to try to scare each trader in each of the batches. You know, they'll let it fly to maybe 100, then I think they'll bring it right back down to 50, and then people will be like, fuck that, I'm getting out of this play, I can't handle this. Okay, they'll get it for 50, and then they'll resell it back to that brokerage that needs excessive amount of shares for maybe 150 or more. Okay, I think certain brokerages are going to take a big hit. I think big brokerages are going to take a tremendous hit. Okay, this situation is very risky, and it's going to come down to how retail understands the situation, and at what price retail is ultimately going to let go of their NBH shares. Okay, will they get shaken out if the price goes up and down, or will they continue to hold? Okay, that's in your individual hand, and that's what you guys have to use the information that I'm providing, and other YouTubers and other people on social media, and develop your own calculus of when to get out and when to get in. Okay, and I hope this helps. Leave a comment, on this, and let me now move on to